We are all familiar with the expression, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, or something to that effect. As I continue to wind my way through this obstacle course we call life, and as I wake up to the matrix that fully surrounds us all, I am coming to believe that nothing could be more true. We all have our moment of great awakening, whether it be JFK, 9/11, Oklahoma City, the truth about the Federal Reserve, vaccines, rigged elections, the CIA's drug running, or what have you. For me, it was 9/11, and it was down the rabbit hole from there. And with each new discovery, with every lie uncovered, I thought, wow, surely this is it. This is the mother of all conspiracies. But no, there's always more. We're never truly and fully awake, I believe. At least, I'm man enough to admit that I'm not. I'm a woman, by the way. I am still on my path of full awakening, and I'm open to whatever or wherever that path leads me. Although I never, ever, not in a million years would have fathomed that it would have led me down the path that I ventured into back in April 2015. This lie is so pervasive, so huge, so all-encompassing, so monumental that to me, it truly is the linchpin, the string holding all of the others, the entire web of lies, together. It is a deception that started from birth and carried over through all of my years of schooling, not education, but schooling, indoctrination, reinforced daily through media, logos, symbols, movies, music, and even religion. It is a deception regarding the very nature of the world in which we live, or on which we live, the stars and planets, the sun and the moon, the so-called universe and our place in it, and who we are. Just 2.5 years ago, I was among the, I would say, half-awakened, who knew about the illegitimate monetary system, who knew about 9/11, vaccines, chemtrails, weaponized GMO food, mind control, weather manipulation, child trafficking, the fake war on drugs, false flags to promote fear and to get us into more and more wars of conquest for the criminal elite. But there was one government entity, one organization that I had never even thought to question: NASA. And there was one basic truth, quote unquote, that I had just accepted as obvious fact, even when presented with no proof whatsoever. That being the very shape of our world, of planet or the plane Earth, or if even this realm in which we reside in this spiritual battle is even a planet. I remember my initial reaction when I heard that Chris and Sheree Geo of Truth Frequency Radio were going to have this guy, Mark Sargent, on to talk about flat Earth. I laughed out loud. Literally. Flat Earth! Ha! How absurd! Ridiculous! Seriously? But my curiosity got the best of me, and so, with eyes rolling and a big smug grin on my face, I listened while Mark Sargent calmly and confidently fired off all the reasons he believed, backed by science, historical proof, and common sense, which I had suspended for much of my adult life, that Earth was not a spinning ball hurtling through space, maintaining 4 different orbits and rotations and revolutions and motions simultaneously at unfathomable speeds, but is, in fact, a flat, relatively, motionless, enclosed plane. Needless to say, by the end of the interview, my ears were peeled, my eyes twinkling in wonderment, and I was no longer laughing. My entire world, no, my entire paradigm and concept of my world and the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the oceans, the existence of outer space as painted for us in the movies and in our textbooks, and even the concept of gravity, believe it or not, everything was brought into question. I had serious questions. So, being a truth seeker to my very core, I had to learn more. I was voracious for knowledge and for learning the truth. So I began listening to and continue to listen to hour upon hour of podcasts and YouTube videos converted to MP3 for more convenient listening with Mark Sargent, Eric Dubay, ODD, Charonism, the Globebusters, DITRH, that's Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, Patricia Steer, Robbie Davidson, Nathan Oakley, Rob Skiba, Matt Boylan, the Sun and Moon Group, Mr. Thrive and Survive, and countless others too many to name or to remember. So, at age 42, I'm now 44, the scales were lifted from my eyes. The veil was lifted, and I saw the sheer magnitude, the enormity of this 500-year global and globe lie. I regained my vision, and I regained the curiosity that I had as a young child. I began to once again view the world around me, the moon, the sun, the stars, the oceans, with childlike amazement and wonder, the childlike wonder that had nearly been lost, for so many years. It had been bred out of me through years and years of schooling, indoctrination, and literally brainwashing. Thankfully, I retained the seed inside of me, but now I had to return to basics, since everything I learned in school was a lie, not on part of the teachers who were merely regurgitating what they had been taught. I realized I really knew nothing about my world. All I have now are just my own observations, my own senses, my own experiences, and my own ability to reason and to think critically and to ask questions, all given to me, to all of us, from birth, hopefully to utilize. So for anyone listening to or watching this with a smug air of disdain or condescension, I would ask you to just open your mind and look around you and at what is presented to you, what is told to you, and ask critical questions. Watch or listen as I present some of the questions that I have that have been raised to me. Listen to some of the very keen observations that I will read to you from Eric Dubay's book, 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball, which is available for free download online, or you can buy it, as I did, in hardback from lulu.com. And just see if these points do not strike you as somewhat curious and perhaps merit further contemplation or investigation. So here is proof 121 from Eric Dubay's 200 Proofs that Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. When you observe the sun and moon, you see 2 equally sized, equidistant circles tracing similar paths at similar speeds around a flat, stationary Earth. The experts at NASA, however, claim your common sense, everyday experience is false on all counts. To begin with, they say the Earth is not flat, but a big ball. Not stationary, but spinning around 19 miles per second. They say the sun does not revolve around the Earth as it appears, But Earth revolves around the sun. The moon, on the other hand, does revolve around the Earth, though not east to west as it appears, rather west to east. And the sun is actually 400 times larger than the moon, and 400 times farther away. You can clearly see they are the same size and distance. You can see the Earth is flat. You can feel the Earth is stationary, but according to the gospel of modern astronomy, you are wrong and a simpleton, worthy of endless ridicule if you dare to trust your own eyes and experience. Some questions that I have and that we all should have. Number 1. Why are there no real, unaltered, unedited, non-CGI images of Earth from space? With all the money, $55 million a day that we throw at NASA, why have they not produced a single real image of Earth? Neil deGrasse Tyson recently publicly proclaimed the Earth to be pear-shaped.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
Yeah. Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
So, why is Earth, in all of these supposed pictures, aka images, a perfectly round sphere? Interesting. Why are there no real-time images from supposed satellites zooming in on Earth, and as you zoom closer, you can actually see all of the people, buildings, surfers, shoppers, mountain climbers, upside down in New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, South Africa, etc., on the bottom of the supposed ball? Maybe because that's impossible, because Earth's not a ball, and satellites are science fiction first put forth by sci-fi writer Arthur C. Clarke in 1945? More on that later. Also, if the Earth is a ball spinning from west to east at 1,039 miles per hour at the equator, supposedly, why couldn't an airplane headed west just hover in place while the Earth down below turns and we just wait for our destination to arrive? Or else, why doesn't the east to west journey take 1/3 of the time as the journey going the opposite way, where the Earth is simultaneously rotating and your destination moving away from you? Better yet, how could an airplane traveling east at only 500 miles per hour even reach its destination when the Earth is moving away at 1,000 miles per hour? It just doesn't make sense. Or how could a skydiver land on target with the Earth spinning below him at 1,000 miles per hour? Makes you think. How is a plane traveling north or south at a 30, 40, 60, or 90 degree angle to the motion of the Earth land on a runway that's moving at 1,039 miles per hour below? Maybe these are things I should ask to a pilot. Oh wait, it's already been done. Mark Sargent has a playlist on his YouTube channel where there are 28 testimonials by subject matter experts, 2 of whom are a flight instructor and an ex-airline co-pilot for a rather large airline. So check those out. Go to Mark Sargent on YouTube. Go to his playlist, 28 testimonials by subject matter experts. Quite eye-opening. Oh, you say the atmosphere sticks to the spinning ball. Yeah, the spin of the Earth magically pulls all the air and anything in the air right along with it. They'll tell you, and the unthinking mind will believe. I mean, they are scientists after all. They have credentials. Who am I to refute that? All right then, explain the so-called Coriolis effect. If the Earth's atmosphere is stuck in place and is magically pulled along with the spinning, rotating, wobbling ball rocketing through infinite space, a vacuum, and it pulls the airplanes and everything in the sky along with it, then why do they then claim that a sniper or artilleryman, or more laughably, a soccer player or quarterback, as postulated by the worshipful Neil Disgrace Tyson?
Why did you talk about my other football tweet?
What other
about
football
was
tweet?
it the Bengals? I forgot who it was, about a year ago.
Yeah.
There's in overtime, after there was the exchange of ball, so now it's sudden death overtime. They kick a field goal from 50 yards, of course, as it must be, and 40 yards out plus the 10 plus the hiking distance. So it was like 52-yard field goal, and there it was. And if there's tense, right? Everybody's silent, and the ball comes up, and it careens off the left upright and goes in for the win.
Wow.
And I said,
I remember this.
That's what I'm saying.
I remember this
That's
tweet.
what I'm saying. So I'm there and I said, wait, the angle of this, how long is it? So I checked the stadium on its configuration, what's longitude and latitude, and I said, I did a quick calculation, and I tweeted. The winning field goal in that game was aided by a 1/3 of an inch deflection to the right from Earth's rotation.
That is the nerdiest tweet I've ever heard in my life.
Here's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
I remember this
That's
tweet.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I remember this
That's
tweet.
what I'm saying.
Remember this.
That's what I'm saying.
I remember this
That's
tweet.
what I'm saying.
Why do they have to take into account the supposed spin of the Earth? Please view Mark Sargent's interview with a Navy missile instructor and artilleryman. So a plane is pulled along with the atmosphere and the ground below it, but not a bullet or a football. Uh-huh. Yeah. And what of the clouds that can be seen floating lackadaisically along in every which direction? Often in different directions at the same time. Those renegade clouds. Ha! Talk about wanting your cake and eating it too. Doesn't work that way. So which is it? If the Earth is truly a ball, spinning, rotating like a marshmallow or a pig roasting over a fire, why such stark difference and contrast between climate, temperatures, and animal and plant life in the northern and southern hemispheres, and at the North Pole and the South Pole? Again, quoting from Eric Dubé's 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. Page 10. Antarctica is by far the coldest place on Earth, with an average annual temperature of approximately negative 57 degrees Fahrenheit, and a record low of negative 135.8. The average annual temperature at the North Pole, however, is a comparatively warm 4 degrees. Throughout the year, temperatures in the Antarctic vary less than half the amount at comparable Arctic latitudes. The northern Arctic region enjoys moderately warm summers and manageable winters, whereas the southern Antarctic region never even warms enough to melt the perpetual snow and ice. On a tilting, wobbling ball Earth spinning uniformly around the sun, Arctic and Antarctic temperatures and seasons should not vary so greatly. The the same latitude as Canada or England in the north, where dense forests of various tall trees abound, the infamous Captain Cook wrote of Georgia that he was unable to find a single shrub large enough to make a toothpick. Cook wrote, "Not a tree was to be seen. The lands which lie to the south are doomed by nature to perpetual frigidness, never to feel the warmth of the sun's rays, whose horrible and savage aspect I have not words to describe. Even marine life is sparse in certain tracts of vast extent, and the seabird is seldom observed flying over such lonely wastes. The contrasts between the limits of organic life in Arctic and Antarctic zones is very remarkable and significant." Okay, so there are many, many more questions and answers remaining. This is going to conclude part 1 of this 4 or 5 part docuseries on Flat Earth, questions that need answering, and for the true truth seekers. There's much more coming regarding the non-existent curvature and why ships really disappear out of view, airline flight patterns, the nature of water, flat, ancient cosmological models, supposed space junk, asteroids and meteors, the satellite hoax, the unproven theory of gravity, the moon as its own light, how the outlandish distances to the various objects in space were quote-unquote measured, the laughable farce of SpaceX and the fraudster Elon Musk, and the Earth as written about and portrayed in the Bible. So stay tuned for parts 2, 3, and 4, possibly 5, coming to a theater near you very soon. Ha! I will conclude part 1 with this exceptional, short, 3.5 minute video of the ice wall surrounding our flat Earth, together by YouTuber and fellow flat earther DITRH Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, which if you're not familiar with his channel, I highly recommend checking it out. The name of this video on his channel is How to Jump Off the Flat Earth. So this is it for now, truth seekers, until the next time.
There's the whole thing now. The Earth is flat.
Let's talk about that.
Hey, flat Earth people! If you're out there, I tell you what, get a car, rent a car, and drive to the edge of the Earth. Send us some pictures.
Quoting again Eric Dubé's 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. Proof 190. Cultures the world over throughout history have all described and purported the existence of a geocentric, stationary, flat Earth. Egyptians, Indians, Mayans, Chinese, Native Americans, and literally every ancient civilization on Earth had a geocentric, flat Earth cosmology. Before Pythagoras, the idea of a spinning ball Earth was non-existent, and even after Pythagoras it remained an obscure minority view until 2,000 years later, when Copernicus began reviving the heliocentric theory. Back to my notes. The ancients believed the Earth to be a stationary, geocentric, flat, enclosed world with the sun, moon, and stars circling above and around us. These same people accurately mapped out the constellations, the timing of the constellations, their monthly and yearly movement patterns, could accurately predict lunar and solar eclipses based on their observations of the heavens. Also, quoting from Eric Dubé's 200 Proofs on page 26, Ptolemy in the 1st century AD accurately predicted eclipses for 600 years on the basis of a flat, stationary Earth with equal precision as anyone living today. And even today, we have these centuries and thousands of year-old sundials, which still today can accurately be used to read time to the minute. If the Earth were truly revolving on its imaginary axis at 1,039 miles per hour at the equator, while simultaneously orbiting around the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour, while the Sun is careening around the Milky Way galaxy at 450,000 miles per hour, while the Milky Way galaxy is rocketing through fictional outer space at 670 million miles per hour, and we see nor feel none of it. Keep in mind, if all of these absurd and crazy motions were in fact taking place, they're not, we would see different star patterns every night, with the same patterns never to be seen again. And just think about all these motions happening at once, simultaneously, all in clockwork-like precision, day after day, month after month, year after year, century after century, never faltering, never wavering. Oh, and man is so smart. They even have satellites up there maintaining all of these very same motions and speeds using only solar panels and rocket fuel. Haha, yeah, right. And by the way, speaking of satellites, where are all of these over 2,000 satellites supposedly orbiting the Earth at anywhere from 50 to 1,000 plus miles above our heads? The only one satellite that people purport to have ever seen is the ISS, if you can even consider that a satellite. And look into that. Take it away, Flat Earth Man. We have lots of pictures of the moon, lots and lots of close-up pictures of the moon that we can see the craters and everything. But has anyone taken a picture of any of these over 2,000 satellites which are orbiting, again, way below the moon? The moon is at 238,000 miles above our heads, as they say, and our satellites start at just 56 miles above. So why are we not seeing any of these at all during the day, crossing past the moon at night? No. Oh, they're too far. They're too small. Oh, really? Well, okay, true. You can't read the bottom line of an eye chart, yet you believe that just by averting your eyes upward, you can magically see stars that are trillions of miles away. So don't tell me that they're too small and that's why you can't see them. That don't fly. Not to mention the fact that every day and night should be a total battle scene from Star Wars or Star Trek with all these meteors, meteorites, and space junk supposedly whizzing by in every direction. We shouldn't be able to walk outside without heavy-duty protection or at least a helmet, but no, none of that. All of these motions and all of this high-speed travel is completely unobservable and undetectable. Yet, people believe it. Why? Because science says. Again, quoting from Eric Dubé's 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball, just more on the stars. Proofs 149 through 151. Throughout thousands of years, the same constellations have remained fixed in their same patterns without moving out of position whatsoever. If the Earth were a big ball spinning around a bigger sun, spinning around a bigger galaxy, shooting off from the biggest bang as NASA claims, it is impossible that the constellations would remain so fixed. Based on their model, we should, in fact, have an entirely different night sky every single night and never repeat exactly the same star patterns twice. Skipping down, Polaris's surrounding stars can always be photographed turning perfect circles around the central star all the way down to the Tropic of Capricorn. If Earth were a spinning ball revolving around the sun, it would actually be impossible for star trail photos to show perfect circles even at the North Pole. Since the Earth is also allegedly moving 67,000 miles per hour around the sun moving at near 500,000 miles per hour around the Milky Way, and the entire galaxy going 670 million miles per hour, these four contradictory motions would make star trail time lapses all show irregular curved lines, not perfect circles. Next on the list of questions that I and many flat earthers have, if the gravitational pull of the moon, which is supposedly 1/6 that of the Earth's, causes the tides, why do the lakes and rivers not experience high and low tides as well? Is the moon selective and only pulls on much more vast and much, much heavier bodies of water? Seems odd. Also, if the moon is truly reflecting the sun's light, why is the night moon, when the sun is lighting up the other side of the supposed ball and nowhere to be found, why is the night moon so much brighter than the day moon? And why is there a day moon? And why can we see blue sky through the moon at times during the day? And have you ever seen dirt reflect light? No. And not to mention, only flat and concave surfaces can reflect light directly back. If the moon were really terra firma, dirt like our Earth, and a convex ball, it would not be reflecting any kind of light, and it most definitely is not reflecting the sun's light when it's nighttime. Ergo, the moon is its own light. It is self-luminescent and gives off its own unique light. Again, quoting from Eric Dubé's 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball, proof number 132. I read, the sun's light is golden, warm, drying, and preservative and antiseptic, while the moon's light is silver, cool, damp, putrefying, and septic. The sun's rays decrease the combustion of a bonfire, while the moon's rays increase combustion. Plant and animal substances exposed to sunlight quickly dry, shrink, coagulate, and lose the tendency to decompose and putrefy. Grapes and other fruits become solid, partially candied, and preserved like raisins, dates, and prunes. Animal flesh coagulates, loses its volatile gaseous constituents, becomes firm, dry, and slow to decay. When exposed to moonlight, however, plant and animal substances tend to show symptoms of putrefaction and decay. This proves that sun and moonlight are different, unique, and opposites, as they are in the geocentric flat model. And just how did science measure the distance between the Earth and the Sun, the Earth and the Moon, and the various stars? I was curious. So I did a little Google search, typed it into Mr. Google. How do they know the distance to the Moon? And here's what they said. How do we know how far away the Moon is? The exact distance between the Moon and the Earth varies, since the Moon follows an elliptical, oval orbit. But on average, the Moon is 384,399 kilometers away. If you had a piece of string that long, you could wrap it all the way around the Earth's equator almost 10 times. Well, that's nice, but you didn't answer my question, how do we know? How did you measure the distance to the Moon? So, since that didn't answer my question, I went to physics.org. And the first paragraph is identical to what I just read. So I'll start with paragraph 2. Ancient Greek astronomers were able to make rough estimates of the distance to the Moon using information from eclipses to make geometric calculations. Well, that kind of makes sense. Since the 1960s, we have, however, had access to a much more accurate way of measuring this distance. Oh, I'm sure you do. Astronauts on the Apollo 11, 14, and 15 missions, fake, positioned retroreflectors, a bit like the cat's eyes you see on roads, on the surface of the Moon. I wonder if anyone with a Nikon P900 has zoomed in and seen these magical reflectors. Probably not. Continuing on, physicists bounce a pulse of laser off one of these reflectors, timing how long it takes for the laser beam to make the return trip. About 2.5 seconds. Since we know the speed of light, they can then work out how far away the Moon is to within a few millimeters. Ah, golly gee, aren't they just brilliant? Continuing on, this project is called the Lunar Laser Ranging Experiment, and it took measurements every year between 1969 and 2009. The information collected has led, for instance, to the discovery that the Moon creeps 38 millimeters further away from us every year. Wow, these scientists, they're just brilliant. It has also allowed physicists to deduce that the Moon's core is liquid. Ah, yeah, I'm sure they have no freaking clue. Moving on, when it comes to calculating how far away the other planets in the solar system are, we don't have the luxury of reflectors. Of course not. Instead, astronomers use a similar technique which relies on bouncing a radar signal off a planet's surface. Okay. For planets visited by space probes, they can also time how long a radio signal sent by the probe takes to travel back to Earth. Right. Completely unimpeded, not bothered by any twirling, whirling, wobbling, spinning, jettisoning, and any space junk, meteorites, meteors, none of that, no. Nothing gets in the way in its million-mile travels. Right, okay. That's fascinating. Sorry, but I'm calling bullshit. Quoting again from Eric Dubay, 200 proofs Earth is not a spinning ball. Page 23, proof 123. Heliocentrists' astronomical figures always sound perfectly precise, but they have historically been notorious for regularly and drastically changing them to suit their various models. For instance, in his time, Copernicus, which this is an aside, most of us believe to be the father of this heliocentric crazy model, quoting, continue. In his time, Copernicus calculated the sun's distance from Earth to be 3,391,200 miles. Oh, just 90 million less than what we now purport. Sorry, that was another side. Continuing on with the quote. The next century, Johann Kepler decided it was actually 12,376,800 miles away. Benjamin Martin calculated between 81 and 82 million miles. So Copernicus, this is not the quote, I'm just reviewing. Copernicus estimated it to be 3 million and some change miles away. Kepler, 12 million miles away. Now we have this guy, Benjamin Martin. No, it's much more. It's 81, 82 million miles. Thomas Dilworth claiming it to be, 93,726,900 miles. I guess he was the winner. He won the draw. Isaac Newton once said, "It matters not whether we reckon it 28 or 54 million miles distant, for either would do just as well." Gee, such scientific precision, eh? Truly. Let's just draw a number from a hat, shall we? As long as the number is backed up by a man of science, the people will buy it every time. This reminds me of a very nice quote by Nikola Tesla, a true genius of science. It's a quote on science and math. Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation, and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality at all. Nikola Tesla. If you haven't heard of Nikola Tesla, that's really sad, and I suggest you Google his name. But getting away from scientific mumbo-jumbo and all these astronomical numbers and just using our senses and observing the world around us with our own two eyes, would a sun 93 million miles away give us this, or this, or this? In these time-lapse photos of the sun, is it not the sun that is moving? Is it not the sun that is approaching and then receding into the distance? Just look and tell me what you think. So, if NASA faked the moon landing and all space missions, as ample evidence does show, please reference Conspiracy Music Guru's song, "Do You Still Believe We Went to the Moon?" Excellent. And the documentaries Astronauts Gone Wild and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. Ample evidence is provided. But if NASA did fake the moon landings and all space missions, why? And what is NASA doing with the roughly $60 million, maybe $55 million a day that they're getting of our taxpayer money? Something that we should all ask. If no rockets of NASA or any of the fake space agencies, JAXA, the Chinese agency, the European Space Agency, have ever gone into what they call outer space, where are they sending them? I mean, of course, they are being built and shot off somewhere, obviously. That part is real, but looking at the parabolic trajectory they follow and the laughable CGI images that they give us back, We know they aren't going anywhere outside of Earth's atmosphere, which must be truly disappointing for the engineers who work so hard in designing and building these things. Reading from Eric Dubay's book, 200 Proofs, once again, proofs 162, 166, 67, and 70. I quote, "All NASA and other space agencies, in quotations, rocket launches never go straight up. Every rocket forms a parabolic curve, peaks out, and inevitably starts falling back to Earth. The rockets, which are declared successful, are those few which don't explode or start falling too soon, but make it out of range of spectator view before crashing down into restricted waters and recovered. There is no magic altitude where rockets or anything else can simply go up, 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 and then suddenly just start free-floating in space. This is all a science fiction illusion created by wires, green screens, dark pools, some permed hair, and zero-G planes." Proof 166. The geostationary communications satellite was first created by Freemason science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke and supposedly became science fact just a decade later. Before this, radio, television, and navigation systems like LORAN and DECA, that's LORAN and DECCA, were already well established and worked fine, using only ground-based technologies. Nowadays, huge fiber optics cables connect the internet across oceans. Gigantic cell towers triangulate GPS signals, and ionospheric propagation allows radio waves to be bounced all without the aid of science fiction bestseller known as satellites. Satellites are allegedly floating around in the thermosphere, where temperatures are claimed to be upwards of 4,530 degrees Fahrenheit. The metals used in satellites, however, such as aluminum, gold, and titanium, have melting points of 1,221, 1,948, and 3,034 degrees respectively, all far lower than they could possibly handle. People even claim to see satellites with their naked eyes, but this is ridiculous considering they are smaller than a bus and allegedly 100 plus miles away. This I already stated earlier. It's impossible to see anything so small that far away. Please realize this. Even using telescopes, no one claims to discern the shape of satellites, but rather describes seeing passing moving lights, which could easily be any number of things from airplanes to drones to shooting stars or other unidentified flying objects. Yeah, true enough. And once again, Conspiracy Music Guru has a truly brilliant song, putting it all together in a very palatable way called Satellite Hoax. I'll just play select excerpts for you, but I hope you will all go to his YouTube channel and watch all of his videos in totality, as he really gives the viewer a lot of food for thought, and they're very entertaining as well. Please watch and enjoy. And now, here is some live coverage, quote unquote, of SpaceX, the SpaceX CRS-12 Falcon 9 launch and landing of August 14th, 2017, courtesy of SpaceX. Notice how they cut from showing a real tube-like rocket with no fins or anything for directional maneuvering, mind you, to a complete CGI image of what's supposed to be the tail end of the rocket, and the fake CGI ball Earth with the exaggerated curve and airbrushed edges. I mean, look at it. Look at the fake clouds there. It is laughable. It looks like the whole thing was engulfed in flames there for a minute, huh? Oh, and the picture-perfect landing. Straight down, nice and easy. No rocket would ever land like that, but well done, guys. Well done. and listen to the gullible people cheering away. Way to go. That was just, wow, brilliant. And for your enjoyment and pleasure, here's a little bit of the footage from their latest launch, the SpaceX Heavy, where they, released a Tesla car that is supposedly orbiting around Earth and then is going to rocket on and move on to Mars, yada, yada. If this looks real to you, I really don't know what to say. Please don't talk to me anymore. Just kidding, if you're family. And the next topic I'd like to touch on, as it is one that science uses to glue their entire heliocentric globe Earth model system together, it is the big G. No, not God, at least not in the science world, for science is devoid of God, as you know. No, the god of heliocentrism is gravity. That's right. See, it's not that gravity just has a preference for air-filled versus helium-filled balloons, or prefers pulling on rocks dropped in water versus an equal-sized sponge or beach ball. No, quite simply, the rock is more dense, and the beach ball or sponge are less dense and have more buoyancy. Shipbuilders understand the concepts of mass, density, and buoyancy very well. That's all they need. We don't need an imaginary force to explain why heavy things fall and lighter things float up into the air. It's rather logical, really. Oh, you don't believe in gravity? Why didn't you go jump off a cliff? Ha ha ha. Look, I'm not saying I'm lighter than air and can fly. I am saying the reason I would fall if I jumped off a cliff, which I won't, is because I am heavier, aka more dense, than the air around me. Therefore, yes, I would go down. And Einstein and Newton went up to heaven, hopefully, when they died, only thanks to the fact that they were full of hot air. As we know, hot air rises, not because gravity pulls down on cold air preferentially, but because hot air is less dense. Period. End of story. And on that note, let's hear once again from the Flat Earth Man or Conspiracy Music Guru on YouTube in another awesome, truly awesome song, Don't Believe in Gravity. Again, I'm only playing excerpts to conserve time, but I would highly encourage you to watch it in its entirety and watch it with your kids. Lots of fun. Also, just for a good laugh, go to Marty Leeds, that's MartyLeeds 33, go to his YouTube channel and find his video called The Ultimate Litmus Test. Forward to about the 42-minute mark and listen to another scientist talk about the Cavendish, that's Cavendish, the Cavendish experiment conducted back in 1797, where the gravitational constant was determined, and just how it was determined. It's quite hilarious. Or just read about it on Wikipedia. Have a good laugh. It's truly laughable, the number of false assumptions that were made and just the sloppy manner in which the experiment was conducted. And it is this gravitational constant that has been implemented ever since in all manner of science. Quote unquote. Truly a disgrace. Quoting Terra Firma by David Wardlaw Scott, also proof number 192 in Eric Dubé's book of 200 Proofs, quote, The system of the universe, as taught by modern astronomers, being founded entirely on theory, for the truth of which they are unable to advance one single real proof, they have entrenched themselves in a conspiracy of silence, and decline to answer any objections which may be made to their hypotheses. Copernicus himself, who revived the theory of the heathen philosopher Pythagoras, and his great exponent Sir Isaac Newton, confessed that their system of a revolving earth was only a possibility, and could not be proven by facts. It is only their followers who have decorated it with the name of an exact science, according to them, the most exact of all the sciences. End quote. It does go on, but that is the end of my quote. And now, I would like to speak to any Christians in the audience. If you read the Bible, and if you believe the Bible to be the inspired Word of God, then this might be of interest to you. There have been compiled over 60 or 100 Flat Earth Bible verses. That's right. Verses in the Bible showing the earth to be flat, stationary, and unmoving, enclosed. To view these yourself, you can go to testingtheglobe.com. That is a website by Rob Skiba, who's well known in the Christian community. There's also a website, philipstallings.com, and flatearthscienceandbible.com. flatearthscienceandbible.com. So the quotes that I've compiled here were taken from those three sites. Genesis 1:6, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." The firmament being the dome enclosure. Genesis 1:8, and God called the firmament heaven. Genesis 1:14, and God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be signs for the seasons and for the days and years." So God put the sun and the moon and the stars in the firmament, according to the Bible. Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. This verse is in fact all that was written on the tombstone of the famous NASA and Nazi rocket scientist Wernher von Braun. He knew the firmament, God's handiwork, is the outer and upper limit, and is as far as we, or NASA's rockets, can go. Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass? Spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass. A hard enclosure. Isaiah 40:22. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, not ball, circle. And they do use a different word for ball later in the Bible, in other parts, but they do specifically use the word for circle, which is flat. And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Job 26:10. He hath compassed the waters with bounds, until the day and night come to an end. So the waters have boundaries. That's why the water does not fall off the edge. And so here I would like to present you a short video, and an excellent video with beautiful music and incredible pictures compiled by DITRH, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Please enjoy, and then we will continue. And here's a depiction of the ancient Hebrew conception of the universe, still found in some modern-day Bibles. We have the firmament, the dome enclosure under which we have the sun and the moon, the stars, the clouds, all of our atmosphere. How high it goes up, we don't know. Estimates are 3,000 miles, 300 miles. This science does not allow us to know. We have the four corners of the earth, sitting upon, moored by pillars. And these pillars are embedded into the great deep, holding it fast. There's the underworld. And then above the dome is what we call heaven. So I'll continue reading the Bible verses that were compiled. Samuel 2:8. 1 Samuel 2:8. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. There are the pillars. Psalm 93:1. The world also is established that it cannot be moved. That's important. It cannot be moved. It is established. It is fixed. It is not spinning and careening and rocketing through infinite space. It is secure. It is on pillars. It is moored in place. I continue. 1 Chronicles 16:30. Fear before him all the earth. The world also shall be stable, that it be not moved. Again, that it be not moved. Job 9:6. Which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble. There we have the pillars again. And we have the earth shaken out of its place. Not out of its orbit, out of its stable position. Psalm 136. To him that stretched out the earth above the waters, for his mercy endureth forever. Stretched out the earth above the waters. Did not wrap the waters around a magic ball, but stretched out the earth above the waters. Proverbs 8:27. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. Or in another version, when he inscribed a circle on the face of the deep. Again, a compass, a circle. These terms do not denote a three-dimensional ball, but still it could be a three-dimensional circle. Proverbs 8:28. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep. Here I'm reminded of, and I can't find this video clip, unfortunately. However, there was a short clip of some guys who went down in a submarine. It was a submarine exploratory crew. And they went down, and they went to the bottom of the sea, and then they saw what they said looked like darker waters under the ocean, like a lake on the floor of the ocean. So they tried to descend down into this lake, and they bounced off. The water was too dense, and they could not penetrate. So, did they find the waters of the deep? Very interesting. Matthew 4:8. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. So, Jesus is on the top of this high mountain and he can see the entire world. Not possible on a ball. So these are all the verses that I'm going to read. Again, there are many, many more. If you just go to those websites, testingtheglobe.com, philipstallings.com, or flatearthscienceandbible.com. Those are really good sources. Now, the Bible verses that teach that the earth is a round spinning ball orbiting the sun flying through infinite space. Oh, there aren't any. Silly me. Quoting Rob Skiba, if I were to be perfectly honest here, I'd have to say that I do not get a spherical globe, nor do I, spinning around in an endless void of space from my reading of the above scriptures. The Bible seems to be telling us in no uncertain terms that we live on a still, as in stationary, flat, and closed earth. End of quote. And I would add, with the firmament separating the waters above from the waters below and the sun, moon, and stars, no mention of planets inside the firmament following their course above us. So, if you profess to be a Bible-believing Christian who takes the Bible as the literal inspired word of God, then you have some things to ponder here. Quoting Philip Stallings, just like so many people have been deceived regarding evolution, the Big Bang, and heliocentrism, so too have many been duped into believing that we are on a spinning ball. The ramifications of these lies have wide-sweeping effects upon every sphere of life and society. End quote. Perhaps my personal favorite Bible verse is from John 8:32. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Spoken by none other than Jesus Christ. The one question people ask most often when confronted with all of this evidence, but why? Why would they lie? Oh, you mean beyond the $56 million a day of taxpayer money that they're getting off their black ops projects? Beyond the power and control over our minds and perceptions? Beyond that? Well, quoting again from Eric Dubay's 200 Proofs the Earth is Not a Spinning Ball, page 39. I quote, some people claim there is no motive for such a grand-scale deception and that flat or a ball makes no difference. By removing Earth from the motionless center of the universe, these people have moved us physically and metaphysically from a place of supreme importance to one of complete nihilistic indifference. If the Earth is the center of the universe, then the ideas of God, creation, and a purpose for human existence are resplendent. But if the Earth is just one of billions of planets revolving around billions of stars in billions of galaxies, then the ideas of God, creation, and a specific purpose for Earth and human existence become highly implausible. By surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialistic sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. To quote Morris Klein, the heliocentric theory, by putting the sun at the center of the universe, made man appear to be just one of a possible host of wanderers drifting through a cold sky. It seemed less likely that he was born to live gloriously and to attain paradise upon his death. Less likely, too, was it that he was the object of God's ministrations. End quote. And with that, I will leave you with the wise and profound words of Henry Bergson. Fortunately, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give rejection to the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning, they begin sensing that something is amiss and start looking for answers. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experience show them a side of reality others are oblivious to, and so begins their journey of awakening. Each step of the journey is made by following the heart instead of following the crowd, and by choosing knowledge over the veils of ignorance. Love you, truth seekers. Never stop seeking. God bless.